water supply, burned our crops, and delivered a plague unto our houses!
He did?
No, but are we just gonna wait around until he does?
Okay, so I am getting a dental implant surgery tomorrow, and before I lose the ability to talk for a little bit, I just wanted to discuss this latest Rachel Zegler drama. Rachel Zegler is a young and upcoming actress who most recently got her big break as Maria in Steven Spielberg's musical adaptation of West Side Story. All things considered, her story of how she rose to stardom is actually pretty remarkable. She got the role of Maria after Steven Spielberg saw her in an open casting call video that she posted on Twitter. The film was released back in December of 2021, and she received a Critics' Choice Movie Award nomination for Best Young Performer, and she won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress that year. And when I say this girl's career is just getting started, I really do mean that. Up until this point, the only other kind of big thing she starred in was the Shazam sequel, and she's going to be in the Hunger Games prequel that comes out later this year. So what exactly could the internet be sharpening their pitchforks over, considering that she has only starred in 2 movies and she was born in 2001? Would you believe me if I said it was over Disney live-action remake casting discourse? Because that's where this rabbit hole took me, and I'm not happy about it. Before we get started though, I would really appreciate it if you check out this last video that I posted yesterday. I was very inspired by Eddie Burbach's Margaritaville video, if you've ever seen that, and it's not what I typically do on this channel, but I really like how it came out, and it was actually very well received in the comments. It's just not getting recommended to people because it's not what my normal audience watches from me. So again, if you're interested, I recommend you check it out. Thanks so much. Okay, so before we get to the current controversy, let's back up just a tiny bit here. There was one more small controversy that Rachel Zegler was involved in up until this point, and it's not exactly anything problematic, it just kind of got her branded as a little annoying, which again, the girl has barely had 2 decades on this earth. I don't know what the fuck you expect. Basically, in 2022, when West Side Story got nominated for a whole bunch of Oscars, Rachel Zegler revealed on Instagram that she was not invited to that year's ceremony. The way the post was presented made it seem like she was personally snubbed and was not allowed to attend, although the situation was actually much more complicated than that. One, that was a year that they had limited capacity at the Oscars due to COVID restrictions, and also she was on set filming for Snow White, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and that's ultimately why she ended up not getting the invite the first time around. After all of the backlash that the Academy got for this choice, she did end up getting an invite to be a presenter at that year's Oscar ceremony, and many people were celebrating because they thought that she deserved to be invited because she played a pivotal role in one of the most nominated movies that year, but other people kind of thought that this was annoying and a little entitled, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, minor controversy all things considered. Fast forward to today, when Rachel Zegler has been talking more openly about her casting as Snow White in an upcoming Disney live-action remake that is set to premiere sometime in 2024. Not much is known about it aside from some cast photos of her in the costume that have leaked, and Gal Gadot is going to be playing the evil queen alongside her, which is going to be interesting.
We have a piano tuned, a chef stolen from Shepherds of Cairo, and enough champagne to fill the Nile.
So about a year ago, Zegler, along with Gal Gadot in a Variety red carpet interview, started talking about how Snow White is going to be different in the Disney live-action remake, which shouldn't be a surprise considering that a lot of them have tried to do this sort of modern, updated, feminist take on the princesses. These comments have now resurfaced because this is the TikTok punching bag discourse topic of the week, but this is basically the genesis of why everyone's panties are in a bunch right now.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Now, like I said, this clip is actually from a year ago, and so the reason why we're talking about it now is because of 2 other clips that are sort of working in tandem with each other. One of them is actually from 10 months ago, and it was posted on Twitter by this user of Rachel Zegler basically explaining that she only watched the original movie once, and then she was like scared by the ride.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years when I was doing this film.
Before we move any further, and I show you the other clip that is getting a lot of controversy right now, let me ask you a very fair question. Do you think that Josh Hutcherson, who is starring in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie later this fall, has ever played Five Nights at Freddy's? If he has, do you think that's going to make him better at playing this character? If he hasn't, do you give a shit? Are you still going to go see the movie? Are you upset because millions of other young boys who played Five Nights at Freddy's in their youth are not going to have the opportunity to play the security guard that they love so much? Do you understand why this argument is so fucking stupid? Anyway, but why is this all a topic of conversation now if we haven't even had any new press for the movie yet? There's no trailer or anything. Well, from what I understand, the news peg in this situation is a clip that went semi-viral of Rachel Zegler explaining on the writer's strike picket line and the SAG picket line that she deserves to be paid equitably for her work.
If I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
So when it comes to discourse surrounding the writer's strike and now the SAG strike, I've covered this phenomenon before. You can go to this video if you want me to go more in depth on it. But one of the talking points that comes from the writers striking and the actors striking is that actors are entitled and they are privileged in their Hollywood roles and therefore shouldn't be complaining about how they don't get paid well enough. This is a myth that the studios want you to believe, and sure, her delivery here was a little cringy, I guess. But this clip has led some people online to be like, well, what about waitresses, and doctors, and construction workers, and emergency crews? Why are you complaining when they don't get paid enough either? And to that, I say, the problem is that no one is getting paid enough. Unless you are in the top 1% of folks in this country, you are not getting paid enough. You should be mad at that! But basically what I think happened here is that this clip went kind of viral and that caused more people to start looking at all of the promotional material she has done for Snow White so far. And the posting of all of these clips and the conversation online has sort of led to the perception that she is not grateful for this role, that she actually hates the movie, she hates everything that Snow White stands for. And in my personal opinion, there is something here to be frustrated at and mad about in terms of our media consumption, but you guys are mad at the wrong thing.
I literally hate the movie. I think it's absolute fucking garbage.
Are you talking about something else?
No, I'm talking about Snow White. The funny thing is, I only watched like 2 minutes of the cartoon 20 years ago, and I ended up taking a hammer and breaking my TV because I thought it was so awful.
So does she have a love interest in this movie?
Hell no! This is at 1937, and we're not in a Taylor Swift love song. There is no love story. She's an independent female lead. She ends up joining a pyramid scheme, and she becomes the world's biggest fucking girl boss.
Alright, so I'm going to try to do my best and tap into the general frustration here in a way that's not as fucking annoying as that TikTok. By the way, if you'd like to see me go more in depth on the Disney remake philosophy, I also cover it in this video here. First of all, I say this as a Disney fan. I grew up on all of the movies. I grew up on the Disney Channel. I dressed as pretty much every conceivable princess for Halloween at one point in time. I don't have a problem with any of the original princess movies as they exist in their current form. In fact, I think it's a little obtuse and pointless to view them and critique them as anything but a product of their time. The reason you were tired of the reinvented girl boss princess trope is not because Rachel Zegler said it in an interview. It's because Disney and every other major Hollywood studio are run by old white men who have been doing this since the 80s, and they're just catching up to the basics of feminism girl bossing 101. Disney's entire subtextual philosophy when it comes to feminism in their stories can basically be boiled down to that one clip in Infinity War where all of the girl superheroes meet up with each other for no reason and they do like the sexy slow walk, and it's supposed to be empowering and exciting. Trust me when I say Disney's gender politics will never evolve beyond that, and I don't think we necessarily need it to right now. But the main issue right now is that their entire business strategy relies on reaching back into an old catalog, pulling out your favorite properties from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. In this case, it's a fucking property from 1937. And doing an updated take on it in live action, but not actually having a reason to do that besides money. Literally, these remakes only exist because they're an easy way for Disney to make money. So I don't blame people when they get frustrated when they're looking for material to consume about these new movies, and the only thing that the actors ever seem to say is that it's more feminist this time around, and that the princess isn't going to be saved by a prince. because that's the only cosmetic change that they ever actually know how to make and are comfortable making that doesn't ever really engage with why this material may have been problematic for its time in the first place. Rachel Zegler is also not the only actress who has been in one of these Disney live-action remakes to say any of this either. Emma Watson's whole thing was that Belle is a feminist inventor now, and actually campaigned for more of those little changes in the movie, and nobody really gave a shit then. I've also seen people compare the things that Rachel Zegler has said so far to Halle Bailey's experience when she was cast in The Little Mermaid, which really doesn't make sense to me because Halle Bailey seemed to have the same kind of sentiment when it came to the remake of her movie and wanting it to be more empowering and more feminist. It was the same stuff. And I'm not the biggest Rachel Zegler fan or anything. She's been in 2 movies. I don't understand how anybody could really be a die-hard fan of her. To me, she just seems like a kid who's still kind of figuring out how this industry works. Maybe she could benefit from a little bit more media training. Her delivery tends to fall into this manic pixie dream girl edgy archetype that seems to rub people the wrong way. It reminds me a lot of the hate that Brie Larson got with the Captain Marvel stuff, even way back when Jennifer Lawrence was getting a lot of hate after the Hunger Games for being perceived as too quirky. It almost feels like that vibe again, and we're just repackaging it for different discourse. And I'm begging people to think more critically beyond movie from 1937 that's being updated for 2024 is going to be different now. I feel like you legitimately might have -2 brain cells if that's something that enrages you that badly. Have you ever seen another fucking one of these movies? They're all like that. They're all the same. And of course I can appreciate the groundbreaking magnitude that Snow White had in terms of animation and storytelling at the time. It really was a truly genuine and magical feat. But if this movie has to exist, and you take the exact same plot from 1937 and you translate it exactly into a live-action film, does that sound entertaining to you? In any way? They have to fucking do something with it. I don't think I'm gonna like whatever it is that they're gonna do, but they have to do something. And anyone who says Snow White is their favorite is capping. I'm sorry. That's the one that you put on in like a daycare center that none of the kids are paying attention to because they're too busy like fighting with blocks or whatever. That is not anyone's favorite Disney movie. If you were born in like after 1995, which is all the bitches on TikTok complaining about this shit. There's no way that this many people care about Snow White as much as they say they do. That's my take on this situation, you guys. I think if you're this mad about Rachel Zegler's comments, you were mad at the wrong person. You should be mad at the studio executives who keep greenlighting this garbage without a reason to actually exist. And I'm gonna be real here, hating on her this much for something so insignificant in the grand scheme of things is truly pick-me behavior. You do not get bonus points for hating on another woman. The only way out is through, and we're all in this together, girlies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hi-ho, it's home from Mexico.